Fellas, are you still powdering your balls? You know you don't need to, right? If you want to keep your fellas feeling cool and dry all day and reduce chafing, then you need to get yourself the Crop Preserver. The 24-hour non-powder moisturizer and deodorant was designed for your butt, balls, and body. Boasting active pH control, anti-chafing, quick absorbing, and made in the beautiful US of A. Head over to manscaped.com and get yourself the Crop Preserver. Your balls will thank you.
The New England Patriots just finished their second preseason game of the year. They defeated the Tennessee Titans 22-17. We're hopping on with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth. I'm Sarah Goodwill to give our immediate post-game reactions. Guys, clearly not as clean of a game as it was against the Detroit Lions, where they pretty much looked pretty polished in every aspect of the game. Tonight, a lot of things were a little bit more not as smooth, not as consistent, starting with Jarrett Stidham. 3 interceptable balls thrown. He did redeem himself a little bit at the end of the game, though. What'd you guys see from him?
Yeah, those first couple of throws, he was late to a couple, one on the flat on the goal line that really should have been a pick six, like a 99-yard pick six. He got lucky on that one. The defender dropped the ball. Then he comes back for that 99-yard touchdown drive, goes 7 for 7 for 89 yards, and drives them right down the field for the game-winning touchdown drive. So on one hand, you want to get on him for the first, couple of series of play for him where he really should have had 3 interceptions and looked pretty shaky. But then on the other hand, he goes right down the field to win the game. So, that's exactly what you want to see from the rookie. The touchdown pass to Damon Patterson was a pretty ball. I mean, that's a back shoulder throw that's exactly where you want that to go. He made another nice throw to Jakobi Meyers, made a good throw under pressure to Dontrell Inman as well on that drive. So, I mean, not as good for Stidham. We're not going to make Stidham the starting quarterback like a lot of people were saying last week, but certainly not a giant step back in my mind for him either.
And I think it's natural. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and run with it and say, oh, they blew a 4th-round pick on a quarterback, and they're still so far away from finding the guy. This is what it is being a rookie quarterback. There's going to be highs and lows. The last thing to come along is consistency. So certainly there's now some stuff on tape that they can go over him with and try to fix it and work on that. But just kind of, Evan, like you said, some people got a little too high on Stidham last week. I would caution people not to get too low on him this week and just understand this is what it is normally with rookie quarterbacks, and then especially a guy like him who's not just learning a new system, but essentially an entire new prototype of the position going from Auburn to the Patriots. I thought he'd be a little better than this tonight for sure, but this isn't something that came well out of left field. You could kind of see this coming at some point in the preseason, whether it was this week or next week.
Right, and we also got our first look at a couple guys tonight. One of them in particular, Isaiah Wynn. We've kind of been monitoring and talking about his recovery all offseason and training camp long. He's been progressing each and every day, and today, obviously, a huge step. We got to see him in live action. He played the first 3 series of the game. Obviously, a good sign that he'll be ready for the first week of the regular season. But tonight, were you overall impressed with how he was able to perform?
Yeah, first game in a year looked pretty solid to me. I think the biggest thing for him is he looked a little jittery, I thought, maybe a little bit too amped up for his first game back, and really what was a full calendar year. He got hurt last year on August 18th, and he plays tonight on August 17th, the following year. I think the good news is that he worked pretty well with Ted Karras passing off some of the stuff that they were doing up front for Tennessee. His feet are still very good. He was able to anchor against power a few times too. Not a ton of one-on-one pass rush snaps where he's, right out on an island against the guy going up against him. There wasn't a ton of that. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. One thing that always stands out for me with Wynn, it has to do with his size. And, he's only 6'2", and I think that gets made a lot out of that. But the biggest thing with him is that he plays like he's 6'9". He's a very aggressive blocker, and he's always going out and getting people, and he's really going to try to bring it to people. That aggressive mindset for a smaller guy is exactly what you want to have. When you're one of those bigger guys, you can lean on your size. You can sit back and you can let guys come to you, and you can say, I'm 6'9", 350 pounds like Trent Brown, just run right through me. If you're going to do that, then props to you. With Isaiah Wynn, he doesn't have that kind of size, so he has to kind of do the opposite and go get people, and that's exactly what he was doing tonight and what he has done all throughout practice. So I still think that he is by far and away their best option at left tackle. I don't think that that's really much of an argument there.
And I mean, Evan, I think pretty much just hit on everything with Isaiah Wynn there. So I'll just say that the last question for me now on the offensive line, right? We were wondering about David Andrews early on. He came back. Isaiah Wynn's now back. And I wrote about this before the game, is who's going to be the swing tackle, that third tackle, that all-important insurance policy, and is going to be a guy like Dan Skipper, who played on both sides tonight, and that's a good indication. Is it going to be Cole Croston, a guy they already cut once this summer and then brought back? Could it be Joe Thuney, and then they use a backup guard, or will one of those backup guards, whether it's Ted Karras or more likely Yelda Froholt, if they go this route, will they teach one of those guys to play on the outside and turn one of those guys into an all-around backup offensive lineman instead of just a backup offensive guard? So I know some of those are more likely than others. I wouldn't say that, it's one or the other with all of them, but that to me is the last question left now. We know the starting offensive line. We know the backup on the interior. It's who are those backup tackles going to be?
Yeah, I think they could use an upgrade at some of the pass catching positions. I mean, Josh Gordon's back now, so I think it really helps a lot of things there. But in terms of tackle depth, I don't think Trent Williams, I don't think they need to make a trade like that. But Dan Skipper had another really rough game out there tonight. And I don't know how much of a Dan Skipper they really want to trust as like the third tackle. If Isaiah Wynn or Marcus Cannon goes down right now and Dan Skipper's your starting tackle on either side of the ball, of left or right tackle, that's asking a lot out of Skipper, and I don't know how comfortable you feel with that. So adding another veteran depth piece at tackle, I think, could be in play here, whether it's a team releases somebody or they go out and make a trade for somebody that's not as heralded as a guy like Trent Williams.
Moving on a little bit now to another guy we got our first look at in live action. Damien Harris didn't play in the first preseason game, but people were really high on this guy after OTAs and seeing his potential as a pass catcher as well. And tonight he obviously showed a lot of flares with that. He was getting involved. So kind of reboosted his name in everyone's minds, because he kind of showed against an actual NFL opponent his potential that we saw earlier on in the preseason.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex. This is your guy.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Damien Harris fan. Roll Tide, all of that. I actually thought him not playing last week was a good sign. I think that's because they know what they have in him. They sort of know what his roles, know what he can and can't do. There's not much evaluation there with him, and I think that's a correct evaluation on their part, that there's not much that they can learn from him in the preseason. Keep him healthy, keep those legs fresh, keep the miles off, as you want to do with the running back. Yeah, this is a guy Patriots fans are going to love. And he does a lot, and specifically in the passing game. So I thought good signs from him tonight.
Yeah, just looking at how comfortable he looked in the passing game compared to what we saw out of Sony last year. I mean, that's a huge difference to have him already in the game at this point, catching passes, getting flexed out wide and catching passes. But it was that the backside run that was really impressive to me. That play was supposed to hit on the left side of the line, and they had a pulling guard from the right coming across on one of their staple power plays, and Damien Harris saw that the defense had them out leveraged to the left side, and instead of just running it right into a wall, he cut it back across the field and he ran almost in for a touchdown. That's a really impressive run for a rookie running back that's kind of seeing his first carries behind a new offensive line with a new scheme and all that kind of stuff. To pull off a run like that where you see the blocking and you see that backside angle open up at this stage is really promising. And I think it's something that Patriots fans should be really excited about.
I mean, another rookie that Patriots fans should definitely be excited about is Chase Winovich. I mean, the kid is having a near perfect preseason through the first two games, whether it's getting to the quarterback or making tackles on special teams, whatever. He was all over the place. Winovich obviously living up to the hype.
Yeah, I charted this game, and in the first half alone, Chase had a sack, two QB hits, a hurry, 2 tackles for loss, and then a special teams tackle on top of that too. I mean, he was just everywhere. And the Titans backup right tackle, I wrote his name down somewhere. I'll have to find it. Tyler Martz got his lunch handed to him all game long by Chase Winovich. Like, I almost felt bad for the guy by the second half. And Winovich was doing it in a number of different ways with a bunch of different moves. And his hustle, I think, is really just, I mean, it's clear that he's making plays where, he's on the opposite side of the field and he's running guys down from, 20 yards down the field, or running the QB down a few times. His hustle and his energy level and also his speed. I mean, he's a really fast player. Was different than everybody else on the field at that point in time once we got into the second half. And that is just, something that you start to see. And he's really started to play that well in practice too. And he really played that well in Tennessee and Nashville in the 2 joint practices. He played that well in Detroit, beating some of their starters actually in one-on-ones and stuff like that. Chase should start playing first team reps here very, very soon, at least sub rushing reps when he comes on that like third down or second and long type packages to get after the quarterback, because he's already, I think, one of the best edge rushers on this team, especially from a stand-up edge rusher perspective.
So, I mean, Evan nailed most of it. I'll just add this. I was thinking about this during the game. The only emotion regarding Chase Winovich, the only emotion stronger than how much Patriots fans love Chase Winovich is going to be how much other teams' fans hate Chase Winovich. Specifically, like the divisional teams that have to see him twice a year, Jets, Bills, Dolphins. Like, he's going to be, I know everybody wants to compare him to Gronk or Rob Ninkovich or whatever. I think he's got a little Brad Marchand in him, in that he kind of seems like he's going to be that guy. People always say, and there's these players in sports, people always say, yes, if he plays for your team, you love him, but if he doesn't play on your team, you hate him. Like those guys, the guys that are in that, say, I can see him becoming that guy, because even when he's not getting the sack, even when he's not getting run stuff, he's just always there. And it goes to the motor, like Evan talked about. He's at the quarterback's heels. He's nipping at his heels, or he's in the passing lane, or he's taking away a cutback lane. Like, he's always around. He's not necessarily always doing something to directly impact the play, but his presence is always felt. And those guys are the guys that succeed the most under Bill Belichick. So that was kind of my, I guess you call it an abstract thought when I was watching Chase Winovich just dominate this game. As much as we're going to love him here in New England, they're going to hate him even more everywhere else.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing too is, like, a lot of people want to make that Ninkovich comparison, but he's a completely different player in my mind than Rob Ninkovich was. Rob Ninkovich